Hey Jan, good to see you back.
Hi,
So
Leslie.
how?
Good to see you again.
I'm sure you had a real great weekend. You seem to be smiling.
I'm always smiling, man. And
Yeah,
and
you
weekends are
always.
always great.
Weekends always great.
I,
But no bike
I
rides?
no bike rides. I had to jump on a flight to Europe with 18 hours of notice, literally, or less than that actually. And then and I had to go there for meetings, and then was working from there. And this weekend, there was something very interesting. I was actually addressing the graduate students of Cornell University as a part of their innovation course, and the topic was, sometimes ideas come from outside of your industry. And amongst all of things, the most uh, intense discussion was on around AI. Okay, and it was a very interesting discussion. I mean, what I felt was, the discussion with with these graduate students, right? Uh, it felt to be very composed and mature for me. I mean, they were neither very phased nor overly hyperbolic or optimistic about AI. They were extremely composed. They actually wanted to understand what the technology trends are, where is it evolving, and they wanted to figure out how it will impact their lives and what role they can play. And
Oh, lovely.
yeah, compared to other industry folks that I normally speak to.
Yeah, instead of getting distracted with AGI
Exactly.
and, kind of
Yeah.
nonsensical stuff.
Yeah, I felt this interaction to be very, very matured. And then I checked with a couple of friends of mine in academia around universities around the world, and they seem to have the same experience with students. Okay, so I think that generation is taking AI and everything, the evolution of AI more into their skin and as a part of their lives, that it's going to be there, as compared to some of the industry folks that you and I regularly speak to, Leslie.
Yeah, I think these are the more pressing problems because see, when we're talking about, say, whether we're talking about artificial general intelligence or I'm not saying that we will reach there, we will not reach there. I mean, it's anybody's guess. I mean, but I think till a time, at least at this point in time, none of the developments actually, lean towards any type of an AGI or ASI. And the more pressing problems are, to tackle how to scale up Gen AI projects and that whole shift of classical AI to AI. In this context, there are a few tidbits, news tidbits that I would like to share with our viewers and listeners. So one of them, of course, is that OpenAI has achieved a revenue milestone of $2 billion in December 2023. So FT had carried the news item first, citing sources as usual. But the interesting part is that Sam Altman is said to be looking out to set up a network of factories to manufacture semiconductors. So of course, clearly it's to sort of not have that over reliance on NVIDIA
Oh,
GPUs,
correct,
and
correct.
he's
I
I
mean,
think
look at the irony. OpenAI, which claims to be the platform, part of generative AI, is thinking that their dependence on NVIDIA and chipsets and GPUs is the platform kind of a dependence. I mean, everyone is trying to, uh,
Yeah.
uh,
But there are two aspects
hedge
to it,
their.
Jayant.
Tell me.
Yeah, one is of course hedging their bets because see,
Correct.
Microsoft is also working on its own processing units.
Right.
Google already has tensor processing
TPUs.
units,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
TPUs, and of course you have companies in the UAE. So interestingly, Altman is talking to the UAE government, according to Wall Street Journal,
In
and
terms
it's
of
a
funding, yes.
and he's looking at something like $7 trillion dollars. So that's yeah,
Okay, that
$7 trillion.
number I wasn't aware, and
Yeah, yeah.
that's an
So
eyebrow
he's
raising number.
yeah. So all basically because he's saying it may require raising as much as $7 trillion according to the Wall Street Journal, and of course they are citing unnamed sources. But yeah, I mean,
I mean,
given the fact
Leslie,
that
not just in our generation or lifetime, in the last 10-15 years, the fundraising has moved from millions to billions to trillions. I mean,
well,
raising trillions?
India's GDP as of now
Yeah, he wants to
is
raise two
about
Indias.
more than two Indias, a little more than two Indias. So if you want, and then also the other interesting part is that OpenAI is in reportedly again, in talks to developing an autonomous AI assistant system which is capable of assuming control of a user's device to perform tasks. Now, this was
Ah.
actually first reported by the Information, again
Hmm.
citing unnamed sources because I guess. And then, of course, OpenAI has announced the integration of watermarks into images
I
produced
would
by
want to
DALI 3.
wait and see what the EU and the regulatory bodies would have to say about that. It's
And
very close to the,
it is very
on the
interesting.
fence, yeah, on the ethical AI part. I mean, automated AI
Automated by.
algos taking control over your devices. Okay, what kind of control and everything? It would be interesting to see the manifestation of it in the real world if and when it happens
Yeah, and
and
then
how
of
it
course,
happens.
OpenAI has announced the integration of watermarks into
Yeah,
images
yeah,
produced by DALI 3.
yeah.
And I think the other news is, of course, Bard being rebranded as Gemini. I think that was expected kind of stuff. But the interesting part is when you spoke about the European Union. I doubt it would have escaped your attention that already the US FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, and the European both are looking at the Microsoft OpenAI partnership. So that is already under scrutiny. And Satya Nadella was here in
Yeah, I was
India.
gonna ask that. You had a good week, meeting Satya and
Yeah, it was a
talking of
little rushed.
Microsoft. Yeah,
So he was in Mumbai on Monday,
correct.
and he was talking about how AI could become a superpower. Then, of course, the following day he came to Wednesday and Thursday. Yeah. So then he came to this thing. What do you say, to Bangalore, and
Bangalore.
then in Bangalore he had the Bengaluru. He had the developer conference.
Right.
Now, the interesting so I had a chat, but see, all of us were given chats of 15-minute kind of stuff because
Hmm.
it's got a very, very hectic schedule. And honestly, in 15 minutes, there's
Come
not
on, you
much
you you would
justice.
you would have made a lot of that 15 minutes, I'm sure.
Yeah, see, he's a brilliant speaker. He's very, sort of, he's always, he's got his thoughts always gathered. And the interesting part is always when you're meeting a global CEO of a $3
Trillion
trillion
dollar.
market cap company. It's the
Yeah,
most valuable company
valued
in the
company
world as we
as of
speak.
today.
Yeah, of course, these valuations keep on changing. It's Microsoft toppling Apple, Apple toppling. But it's amazing that it has come up to this level. And
Yes.
so two or three things like what I noticed. One is, of course, he has completed 10 years in office as CEO. Of course, he has been 32 years with the company itself.
Yeah.
So, but
No,
the
I
point is,
mean 10 years of Satya at Microsoft, at the
yeah,
helm
as
of Microsoft
CEO,
as CEO sounds like I still remember it was like yesterday. It was still Steve Ballmer's era at Microsoft. Okay, and
yeah,
Satya replacing him. It's already been a decade. Wow.
yeah, till 2014 we had Bama,
Yeah.
and of course that booming voice of Bama, and then that whole anti-open source kind of phase that we all had seen. Then
Yes.
all these companies becoming open source. It was pretty
Correct.
interesting to watch because I have seen it very, very closely because I used to write about these subjects. Uh, then I think another take home from the developer's point of view that he said, okay, he was pointing out some numbers on GitHub. Like you have something like 13.2 million developers on GitHub from India. And it's second only to the US. And by 2027, he expects India to overtake the US, which I think is a fair assumption. But the connecting the dots basically is because you have such a robust developer community, you've got a very good semiconductor design ecosystem.
Right.
You're in the process, India is in the process of setting up fabs.
Setting up fabs
Regard,
themselves. Yeah.
yeah, regardless of whether they're in the 28 to 40 nanometer kind of range, but still they have got their own functions. But having said that, the whole point is the entire ecosystem is becoming very vibrant. So
Yeah.
what I liked the take home was that his basic point was, which I think we would always subscribe to, is that India is no longer a consumer of tech; it is also a
Yes.
creator of tech.
Yes. Yes.
No?
I keep hearing that on my travels, and like I said, I've almost 8 or 9 trips to Europe, and in the next 4 months, almost another 4 or 5. I'm traveling once a month up until June, and this is what I keep hearing. Even the conversations that I've had in Europe, Indians, Indian tech talent, we're not just consumers. We are creating, Europe's actually is looking at Indian talent to come and set up shops. They're opening up their grants, they're opening up their investment ecosystem. The private investors are very interested, okay, to move some talent from here. In the last 2-3 years post COVID, a lot of blue collar workers from India had moved to Europe, and we discussed this in our last episode. But now they want a lot of tech talent to move there, and I completely resonate with what you're saying and what you've heard.
Yeah, and the other interesting point was, okay, of course, I did ask him, I said, okay, when you're talking about, CXO scaling up, those were kind of responses that he has, earlier also ascribed. So I don't think there was any change in stance as far as his other responses were concerned. But when I asked him about, basically that AI itself is building AI models now.
Right.
So I said,
right.
How do, developers actually skill themselves?
Yes.
What do they skill themselves for?
Yeah.
Now, I like the way he answered it. He didn't skirt the issue because there's no. He just said that
he cannot. I mean, that's a big issue.
Yeah. So I think he is very well aware of that issue. But I mean, basically, what I like what he was saying, like he was stressing on the whole thing. He's saying that's why we are calling it co-pilot, where it's humans in the loop.
Yeah.
And I think another interesting point for the viewers and listeners that who are like sort of sometimes apprehensive that their job might go. Very interestingly, what Satya said, and I think we have also earlier said that it is not about AI taking away our jobs. It is about because it's not about just one engineer sitting in one small remote corner, one developer sitting in one remote corner working on whether it's Chat GPT or any other Bing, Bahar Chat or whatever it be. It is about a whole a cohesive team of multidisciplinary people, whether you are having a statistician, whether you're an anthropologist, a social, maybe an expert in whether biology or life sciences or whatever it be. So that whole ecosystem, there are many people working on this. It's not just one developer writing a program. The developer, developers are smart guys. The smart guys will always keep on learning new frameworks, new languages, etc. So that I thought was a very good take home. And of course, he gave some good examples about. He highlighted Sarvam, which was that Open Hathi series. Then the Open Health Network. Now, the Open Health Network is something that even I don't know. During Corona, they actually created a tele-IC. So that was pretty interesting work that they had done. How they used the thing, and of course they have used GitHub Copilot. And I think Axis Bank is one of the first banks to use Copilots. So his point time and again, I think the main take home is stay ahead of the curve, keep on doing what you're doing, and don't allow things like, I think in more to keeping with what we'll be now talking about, the Cornell University, that instead of getting distracted with those kind of AGI kind of stuff, which may or may not happen it's not going to happen in the near future. It doesn't look like it's happening in any near future.
I mean, two weeks back when Mark Zuckerberg, announced Facebook's or Meta's, new strategy around AI, he started off with AGI, and I remember he and Jan LeCun, on LinkedIn talking about, we still do not have a concrete definition of what AGI is. This coming from someone at Mark Zuckerberg and Jan LeCun's level, okay. AGI's definition and what it means is still open, for people at that level. So, talking of AGI being a reality, I think is a moot point when we don't know what it is, in the first place. Okay. And
that's a very actually that's a very, very valid point, because if you remember during the Mint AI Summit, I had pointed out that these definitions are they keep on changing. So each and every time. So you have Mustafa Suleiman, who was the founder of DeepMind AI and now of Inflection. He also talks about artificial capability intelligence, which seems to be more on the lines of, okay, fine, midway between the AI part of it and the ASI or the AGI part of it. So it's more about the capabilities that AI can bring to the tables.
No, but I quite like the question you asked, which was a very pertinent question to Satya, and the way he answered, because essentially what he's saying is look at AI complementing and supplementing your work and human in the loop, and augmenting the work that you can do. I mean, one very simple example is this startup called Appliance.ai, which raised about $4 million from Khosla Ventures this week. Okay, they are making your mixer jars, okay, intelligent and AI enabled. Okay, now every such thing, if it can be made intelligent using AI, then all of a sudden it's not about jobs going, it's about many more jobs creating. And I still remember in 2019 I was doing a keynote for one Norwegian company, and there in the keynote I was talking about how philosophical thinking will become the design thinking of the AI world, right? These machines, the intelligence, is going to be automated and commoditized by these machines, but making those machines more humane in terms of, how the humans thinks, building that philosophical mindset, coming from the realms of sociology and anthropology, okay, is going to become the design thinking of the AI world. And all of a sudden, what Satya said, that it's going to be a team of people, okay, from different domains, so going to be sitting together and building these algorithms,
and they'll be acting as a single team.
as a single team. Exactly.
Yeah. So this whole question about whether I'm going to lose my job or not is really not relevant, because I mean he has not dismissed that part. The only point is he's just saying, like, look at the broader picture.
Other jobs are getting created.
Yeah.
Other capabilities are being needed.
Yeah, okay. And the answer basically is not as simple as is it going to take away my job? Because see, having said that, I do acknowledge the fact that it will, in certain cases, it will sort of depress the real wages for sure. Because where you require 10 people, you may require 5 people with these kind of, but those would be in certain sectors, and even there would be smarter ways of getting above it by reskilling and doing other things. And of course, there could also be a whole point, where there are entire people there in certain companies, they have tried out these AI tools, especially the LLM-based chatbots, and they have realized that, okay, fine, because of that hallucination, they have actually had to hire agencies again to correct it, so that humans in the loop part of it, and the ROI is not exactly
correct.
As they thought.
Yeah, we've been discussing this, and it's some of the numbers have been mentioned in the AI summit as well, and and we discussed those numbers on this podcast as well in some of our previous episodes, that when it comes to generative AI being used and applied in enterprise, we are still in the very early stages. I mean, less than 10% of all the Gen AI pilots in the enterprise are seeing the light of the day in terms of production, right? 90% of them are going, being pilots, are being in the sandboxes, are being in the innovation and R&D with the R&D teams. And, I came across some statistics. Only $2.5 billion have been spent on generative AI by enterprises last year. These are Menlo Ventures numbers from a report in December 23, as compared to $70 billion spent on AI and $400 billion spent on cloud last year. Okay, so even the enterprises are, just testing the waters, and these are early days, and only because how structurally, the LLMs and are still not there in terms of delivering accurate, consistent value, and can be built on as far as enterprise use cases and applications are concerned still.
No, I think so. People sometimes do not appreciate the fact, the kind of amount of fine tuning that needs to be done.
Correct.
Whether you're using fine tuning or whether you're using RAG, for that matter of fact, or you're using anything, and the fact that many of these enterprises actually have legacy platforms that have to be okay. They would have migrated to the cloud even then. There are different kinds of platforms. A lot of integration work has to go in.
Yeah, having said that, the stability of these LLMs themselves is increasing at a rapid pace. I mean,
yes.
The first half of 2023, how volatile, and unstable LLMs were, in the second half, that was a completely different picture. And first half of 2024 is expected to be, something else. So, as much as they're still not there, but they're improving extremely fast. And
then they've actually shown, the returns in terms of increasing the productivity, for instance.
Correct.
Like I
Correct.
just I wrote a whole piece on generative AI banking, and actually
Yeah.
I've seen the kind of effort that banks have actually put in to create these LLM platforms and the kind of results that they are seeing. So
Correct.
yeah, I mean, it's clear that there are clearly the benefits, uh, and I think we have to
And
wait time to go,
yeah,
to
and
become
talking of
mature.
this, exactly, talking of these early days, but still very, capable and sort of a tsunami that the technology has created in terms of growth. One thing, and reskilling, right, at the intersection of reskilling, one thing that I kept hearing a lot, and you must also be, by a lot of people in and outside of the industry, as to, what kind of courses can they do to be, AI certified or AI enabled. Okay, I mean, I'll give you an example. Just yesterday, I was having this conversation with a fellow entrepreneur. He's been running his company for the last 10, 12 years. Makes a decent this one. I mean, you stick to entrepreneurship for 10, 12 years. You'll make a decent revenue. But he was talking about what kind of courses can I do, Jayant, for AI. And I'm like, why do you want to do courses? I mean, do you need a certificate, or do you want to sound intelligent in front of your clients and your potential clients? He's like, both. I said, if it's a second thing, there is no course on the face of this earth that equips you to sound intelligent in front of in front of your clients. You actually have to work with practitioners. Go sit with the entrepreneurs, guys building AI products and solutions, or in some of the big companies, the teams that are building, and
You have to
understand what's happening.
you have to
Okay.
understand the business in the first place.
Correct. Because the courses that are out there, Leslie, are still, they don't even cover the complete AI 1.0, classical 1.0. I mean, there's still business intelligence and analytics, deep learning, data engineering, and NLP at best. There are no courses on computer vision even. Okay. And we are already in the space of using transformers, okay, which is a 2017 paper that came out at scale. Okay, transformers and attention, and and LLMs. Okay, and we are already talking about AI 3.0, which in the next 6 months can come out of the woods, where the techniques of interest could be chain of thought, tree of thought, and reflection. Okay, when machines will become reasoning enabled, or logical reasoning enabled. For that, no courses out there are available. The courses that are available are like 12 month, 15 month, 18-month courses that give you a certificate. Okay, whereas the technology is evolving every 6 months right now. Okay.
Yeah, you have to continuously keep in touch with papers on archive.
Correct.
Otherwise
Yeah,
there's no
AXIM.
way on it.
AXIM. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so otherwise there's absolutely no way that you can keep in touch with these kind of things. So whether it's a peer-to-peer review, and even there you have to take it with a pinch of salt, because a lot of these are preliminary. I think many of them are not peer-to-peer
Right.
reviewed kind of thing.
Right.
And of course the blogs that come up
No, I that's what I
with
told him.
Google,
Blogs.
Hugging Face,
Yeah,
and
blogs, podcasts,
yeah, podcasts,
Okay, keep talking to people who are actually building
building.
stuff. Okay, building stuff. That will make you a part of the conversation of the AI ecosystem. But if you still want to go have a certificate, go do any deep learning certificate. That will give you.
It's a little hard, because in the sense, by the time you get certified, already the technology would have changed,
It would
or
have
there
changed
would have been
exactly.
a lot of incremental things that are there, which would because I mean, I would subscribe to this point of view. I mean, if there's a
Correct.
contrarian view, viewers and listeners should let us know.
No, I
It'll
think
be
this is
interesting to hear
there's
a
a
different
topic.
point of view on this.
There's a
Well,
topic we need to address, because you and I keep, and a lot of people, and across career hierarchies and age groups, right from early stage 20 something, so just getting into their jobs, to very senior folks. Now the CXOs and the senior management, there are AI workshops. I do a whole bunch of them. Okay, but those are designed specifically for them to bring them up to speed, number one. And number two, identify those areas and techniques and areas of evolution to keep their ear to the ground. But they're all customized. I mean, it depends on every industry and every company, right? So, and they cost a bomb, and they can pay a bomb. But purely doing a certification course for the heck of doing a certification course, I think in today's day and age, and where the technology is and how fast it's evolving, is, in my mind, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, because there are certain kinds of courses or certain kind. Look at the reskilling, how the bar for reskilling has changed. For
Right.
instance, let's talk about used to have a lot of people used to make a lot of money from writing workshops for
Yeah.
enterprises. Where are they now?
Yes.
Why would you want to have a writing workshop for the enterprise?
Correct.
I mean, it would be, unless, well, honestly speaking, ChatGPT can give you a much better course and a much better outline. And if somebody really puts in the effort, uh, it's really going to make life very easy. Uh, the same would apply, like, very shortly, for public speaking courses, for motivation courses. A lot of the stuff can be outsourced with the help of some humans in the loop. So where you require, say, 4 or 5 people, probably you just require one person, intelligent enough, a domain expert who understands the subject and who can, sort of get the finer points of it. So yes, it does act as a supplement, but honestly, a person can learn a lot through. Now, whether you use Coursera, whether you use Udemy, whether you use any of these. IITs are giving a lot of these courses. Like you were talking about a computer vision at the India Science Fest in Pune. There was one of the professors who was talking about computer vision. He was actually talking about how he was relating it straight to driverless cars and all that. So I liked it. He had made it very correct. And one could relate to it because there were examples from just 2 days back or something. So it was amazing the effort that the professor put in to make it very current, because the fundamentals have not really changed. There's certain incremental change and years. So we have to listen to these kind of people. So I
Correct.
would be interested
Correct.
in understanding what the Cornell folks asked, because that would be interesting to.
Yeah. The Cornell folks were asking about, these guys were from the background of financial services and investment banking,
Oh,
healthcare, okay, hospitality, okay, and people running their own family businesses, retail chains, okay, and they were all asking as to how can I use AI, okay, to be current and ahead of what I'd be doing, and and for each of those industries, the hospitality guys, the hotel guys, they were interested. So the answer was always a combination of always that come outside in terms of look at your business need and understand where AI can be helpful to advance that, and then use a combination of techniques. It can be AI 1.0 itself, pure advanced data analytics and pattern recognition and machine learning and prediction, along with generative AI. Okay,
but Jayant,
that can be used.
isn't that the secret sauce, as we
It
say
is.
in Kung Fu Panda?
It is.
That first understand your business need.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
each and every time you don't take,
Correct.
you don't try to find out the latest LLM, or
Correct.
what is happening, whether it is a transformer or you require a graphomer or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Those are not the kind of discussion that you
Yeah.
ought to have.
So
You have to ask, okay, what, unless you're in an academic circle and you're
correct.
probably teaching PhD students in computer science, then it's a different issue.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing that, for most of the cases, none of us are doing that. So we are going to talk about, okay, what's your business case and how can you best use AI? For all you know, you may not even
Use.
require traditional AI. You may just
Correct.
require statistical tool, and you
Correct.
can get
Correct.
your work done.
And
So
I think this is a point where I need to bring out a very distinct difference between American students, American universities, and Indians. If you remember, in the last 25-30 years, especially since the IT boom went on, Indians have always been certificate oriented. I mean, people have been doing C++, Unix courses, getting NIT certifications, getting CCNA certifications, Cisco Network Administrator, then Microsoft certifications.
yeah,
And these certifications were always
and they'll
uh,
highlight it. They'll highlight it on LinkedIn.
yeah, exactly, for getting a better job or getting a
Yeah, I mean the
moving
employers are
jobs.
asking for
Okay,
it,
yeah,
unfortunately.
moving jobs. And I clearly see that difference when someone comes and asks me about what course should they do in AI, depending on which part of the world they are from. Okay, Indians typically ask from the point of view of how can it add to my resume, whereas people in the West typically ask in terms of how can it enhance the field that I'm passionate about, or the field that I'm going to build my career in, or the field that I'm already working in, right? And how can it, they come from the point of view of how can I evolve as a leader or a thought leader or an innovator in this, as compared to people from the eastern side who want to have a certificate to embellish their resume and get a job in the AI space. So that, I think, is a big distinction. Okay.
Personally, I'm not too sure whether we can generalize those observations, but
I'm giving basis
yes,
empirical data. Yeah.
and that's exactly what you sometimes get you wonder why, because in fact, if I want to sort of, if I would be an employer, okay, and I were to sort of if I'm interviewing somebody, I could actually give them a simple test and just check whether they understand it. And the moment the person speaks, within the first 2 minutes or so, whether the person has a grasp on the subject or not.
Yeah.
So whatever resume really will not going to work anywhere. And today, given the kind of AI algorithms, you may probably not get past even the algorithmic interviews.
Yeah,
because if you don't have those exact terms, and now people have learned how to game the algorithms also.
Correct.
So now a person who has not written, have not learned how to write an AI sort of suitable kind of algorithmic driven kind of resume, will just not get past most of the thing, because they get thousands of resumes every day. So I think there's a lot of rethinking happening even in HR circles, and we should actually ideally get somebody from the HR to talk a little about how they are using AI and how they look at this certification process. It might be interesting to get a different perspective of that.
So I've had the chance to see some of the generative AI, tools being used in the HR departments by some of the larger companies, but they're using it for multiple applications, right? From job description generation, sorting of. They're using traditional AI for sorting of resumes. And I know some companies who set up the first couple of rounds through an AI avatar, interviews through AI avatar as well. But this entire certification bit, I think you're right. I mean, I do not have a lot of knowledge about that. We need to get an HR specialist to understand.
None of us have it.
Yeah, how AI certificates are being, viewed or weighted on the resumes of the people that they're hiring.
Yeah, I remember having this conversation with the Coursera guys some time back, and I asked them, I said, so I said, are employees actually taking these certifications seriously? He's saying, yes, they are, because now, degrees alone, they don't work. So you have to, I think it's an indication or a statement basically saying that, okay, I am investing in upgrading my skills, and here's proof. So,
yes.
I mean, it's okay.
That's a proof of that.
Yeah, it's a proof of that, because otherwise you're free. Like, I take a lot of these courses without bothering about the certification. Because I guess you and me are.
I think everyone needs to come from the point of view of why do they need to learn about AI, okay? And once they have the answer for that why, what path to take then becomes more clearer. If they really want to understand the technology evolution, then they don't need any certificate or any course. They need to be around with the practitioners and have a couple of conversations over coffee.
See, Jayant, you and I, basically, we are not looking out for employment or anything. So if you're looking out for gainful employment, or you're looking at something, then you may perhaps need those certificates. But whether those certificates are actually honored by employers, that's another thing. How much weightage do they attach to it? But it would be interesting, because some of the courses that I have looked up, because mailers you keep on getting, once you join a particular course, you keep on getting. I'm saying it's an amazing thing that the world's best courses have been made available for free. So anybody, it's like, reminds me of Three Idiots. You can actually get into any online classroom, just absorbing as much information as you can. it's an exciting journey. So if you're not looking out for gainful employment, if you're not worried about your next job, it's fun. It's extremely stressful for the person probably who is, looking out for a job or looking out for certification. So I think we come from different backgrounds, but there's a lot of knowledge that is available. So these are very good times.
If you know what you want to do with it, why you need it, there's a lot of knowledge available out there. Yeah.
And I think we may have, eventually you'll soon have an AI tool that will be able to guide you. So I think that you can even, now you can put up some prompts in ChatGPT and figure out a kind of a course that you require. If you have so I think it all depends on the kind of prompts that you're giving ChatGPT or Gemini or, Bing Chat or whatever tool that you plan to use. It should be interesting to, to carve your own career graph and keep on revisiting it. It is, the analogy that I would draw is when you're learning about AI, is the effort that you would put. If you're a trader in the market, you would keep on looking at your portfolios every second day. If you're invested in mutual funds or SIPs or something, you would want to look at. You don't allow it, just to go. So why not with your own career?
With your own career, yeah. Yes. With your own upskilling, makes sense.
Yeah. So I guess we'll look forward, to more of these, and probably get some students from Cornell or students from IITs, etc. Get them on this podcast, and to give us a different kind of perspective, because they may have a totally different perspective.
From where they're coming from. Yeah, and we need to, today. The recording is happening on the 9th of February, and today is the lunar new moon, which is also the Chinese New Year. So, the year of dragon or the wooden dragon is starting. So
what's the significance since you track it?
Gongxi Fa Chai. That is, Happy New Year in Chinese. Nothing. Chinese New Year starts. They follow the lunar cycle. It starts in February every year, and it's a different animal. Okay. And, talking of Chinese New Year, I don't think we've ever discussed this, but even for at least about 5-10 minutes, we need to discuss the entire AI innovation, that came out of China, and how pre-COVID and even post-COVID, obviously post-COVID, we don't have a lot of information. Pre-COVID, I remember this was 2018 or 19, China was actually leading the AI patents. So, 30,000 patents, I think 2018 they filed, out of which 16 or 18,000 were only on computer vision, right? You remember 2018 end, they had, commercially launched this social scoring system based on, by implementing 175 million cameras, tracking people's movements. And I remember it was this week of the, Chinese New Year of Feb 2019, where based on people's behavior, their social credit scoring had gone up or down, and they were denied, train tickets, plane tickets, or even hotel accommodation to travel, and all AI driven, right? A lot of innovation has come out of China. Today we talk about US and India, having a lot of AI talent, but we cannot forget.
Yeah, I think the innovation in China gets a little, what I would say, dismissed by most people, not because of the prowess. It's more because of the kind of surveillance tools that they use.
The political, the reason why the innovation itself. The geopolitics, and the innovation itself is driven for what reasons?
Okay. But I think the learnings are very clear. They had a very robust startup ecosystem. They had a very robust semiconductor system, TSMC, and of course the Taiwanese companies, semiconductor plants also. If you look at that, then the whole, chip design and everything. You have a lot of stuff happening in China.
Exactly.
Mobile phones.
Across the value chain, if you look at the AI value chain, China is actually housing a lot of these technologies, development and innovation, obviously.
Okay. And also China-specific LLMs.
Chinese-specific LLMs. Exactly.
I think they must be having 100 plus China-specific LLMs already.
Easily. And I remember, back in 2018, we from Convergence Catalyst have been invited to Beijing because Microsoft was celebrating its 20-year anniversary of their AI research lab in China. Okay. Microsoft had set up the AI research lab in China, and it was a 20-year anniversary. And back then, I still have it in my house. They had generative AI in their AI labs. You give your name, basis your name, their generative AI algorithm would make an art, okay, and also write a poem. So I have both the poem and the art. This was 2018, right?
And yeah, they were using GANs basically.
Yeah, they were using GANs, exactly.
Yeah.
So they were using GANs. So all this stuff has been happening in China, and right now, from what I understand, a lot of Chinese AI talent is actually helping the Middle East, LLMs coming from Dubai and Saudi Arabia, in that area. A lot of Eastern European and Chinese talent is actually working in the Middle East, and that's why we see a lot of LLMs, strong, stable, quite solid ones coming from that region.
And that would be another interesting topic, to deal with the whole geopolitics and AI, because AI and AI regulation. But of course, we'll call some experts also on this podcast. So great. Hope you have a lovely weekend and
likewise,
enjoy.
and you have a great weekend too, Leslie. See you soon.